I went back there and went, what have I done? What came over me? Who am I?
Hollywood is glitter and applause, but for Sally Field, the spotlight hasn't always been kind. Behind her smile and Oscars lies a list of co-stars she openly despised. Some of them giants of the industry, some of them unexpected betrayals. At 78, she finally broke her silence, revealing the actors who turned her dreams into nightmares. Stick around because the Hollywood you think you know is about to crumble. Number 1, Burt Reynolds, the man who broke Sally's heart. When Sally Field first thought of Burt Reynolds, most fans would picture the Hollywood heartthrob with a winning smile and effortless charisma. On screen, he was magnetic. Smokey and the Bandit and Smokey and the Bandit too practically glowed with their chemistry. But behind the cameras, Sally's story was far from a fairy tale. She once said, "I never felt truly seen around him. It was like being in the room, but not really existing." Reynolds, she recalled, had a way of charming everyone else while quietly undermining her. Conversations were interrupted. Her ideas dismissed. Compliments never felt genuine. What the world saw as flirtation often masked a controlling, dismissive streak. To Sally, the charm was sharp, sometimes cutting deeper than outright insults. The tension wasn't just personal, it bled into their work. Scenes that should have sparkled felt heavy. Rehearsals became exercises in restraint. Field described feeling like a prized accessory rather than a partner, constantly aware that any misstep could earn a glare or cold silence. She tried to navigate it with patience, professionalism, even humor. But the emotional strain lingered. Even years later, Sally didn't shy away from the truth. "I wanted to love him. I did love him, but it hurt too much." Their relationship never healed publicly. And while Burt went on living the Hollywood life, Sally carried the scars quietly. It's a reminder that even the brightest star can cast a shadow over those standing beside them, and that sometimes behind the glitz and charm lies a story no one expected. Number 2, Tommy Lee Jones. Too cold to work with. The first day Sally Field walked onto the set with Tommy Lee Jones, she knew something was wrong. No greeting, no eye contact, just a wall of silence so thick it chilled the entire room. For Sally, who thrived on connection and trust with her co-stars, it was like acting opposite a ghost who refused to acknowledge her existence. "He barely spoke to me," she later revealed. "It was as if I didn't belong there at all." That frost never thawed. Between takes, Sally tried small talk, light jokes, even questions about their characters, but Jones gave nothing back. He delivered his lines, hit his marks, and left, leaving her to act in a vacuum. The result was devastating. Critics panned their film back roads for lacking chemistry. But what audiences didn't know was that the real problem wasn't the script, it was Tommy Lee's refusal to connect. For Sally, it was sabotage in its quietest form. The emotional coldness drained her, forcing her to carry scenes alone while feeling undermined at every step. And unlike other clashes in her career, this one left no room for reconciliation. Sally never worked with him again, and in later interviews, her words, measured but heavy, said enough. She hadn't just endured a difficult co-star. She had faced a man who made her feel invisible. Even today, the silence still speaks louder than words. Number 3, Robert Blake. Chaos that destroyed a film. During Sally's career, one of the most dangerous co-stars was Robert Blake. From the very first day Sally Field shared a set with him, the atmosphere shifted from creative to chaotic. He didn't just push boundaries, he demolished them, dragging everyone else into the wreckage. During the filming of Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, Sally watched in disbelief as Blake rewrote the rules without warning. One moment he'd stick to the script, the next he'd throw in improvised lines that derailed entire scenes. Cameramen, directors, even fellow actors were left scrambling. "There are actors who act," Sally once said, "and there are actors who try to make everyone else small so they feel big." Blake was the second kind. It wasn't only her he targeted. Crew members endured screaming tirades, sudden walkouts, and violent mood swings that turned every workday into a gamble. For Sally, who was already carrying the emotional weight of a demanding role, it was like standing on a stage where the floor might collapse at any second. What should have been a breakthrough project became a disaster. The film never even made it to release, collapsing under the pressure of Blake's behavior. But for Sally, the scars weren't just professional. She described the experience as traumatic, a word that underlines how deeply it cut. The betrayal wasn't subtle or hidden. It was loud, destructive, and unforgettable. And true to her vow, Sally never worked with Blake again. The chaos may have been his art, but for her, it was a wound that never quite healed. Number 4. Shirley MacLaine. The diva Sally couldn't stand. On the surface, it looked like a dream pairing. Sally Field and Shirley MacLaine, two Hollywood powerhouses, sharing the screen in Steel Magnolias. But once the cameras stopped rolling, it became clear this wasn't collaboration. It was combat. From the very beginning, Sally felt the imbalance. She poured herself into the role with quiet discipline, trying to honor the story with authenticity and emotional weight. Shirley walked in with a different energy, brash, loud, and always reminding everyone she had already conquered Hollywood. What should have been teamwork quickly shifted into a tug-of-war, with Shirley seizing every opportunity to assert dominance. As one crew member put it, every scene was a showdown, and Sally was the one paying the price. The tension reached its peak during one of the film's most emotional moments. What should have been a scene of devastating silence stretched into 17 takes. Not because Sally faltered, but because Shirley refused to play it straight, adding quips and sarcastic asides that undercut the gravity Sally fought to create. To the audience, the final cut brought tears. To Sally, it carried the memory of an exhausting duel fought just outside the frame. Decades later, there's been no reconciliation, no warm reunion photos, just the memory of a set where two legends collided, and only one walked away with scars deep enough to last a lifetime. Number 5. James Woods. Manipulation masquerading as genius. With James Woods, the problem wasn't shouting or chaos, it was manipulation. From the first table read of Kiss Me Goodbye, Sally Field realized she was stepping into a minefield where every word, every glance was a setup for his next power play. Woods was brilliant, no one denied that. But his brilliance came wrapped in sharp edges. He challenged directors in front of the crew, rewrote dialogue without warning, and constantly dissected Sally's choices as if she were a student in his classroom. She later admitted, "It wasn't the role that wore me down. It was having to constantly defend my worth." Those words revealed just how deeply the experience cut her. It wasn't just artistic tension, it was psychological warfare. Sally, who built her career on openness and emotional truth, found herself crushed under Woods' intellectual weight. He didn't push her to elevate the performance, he tried to shrink her. Off camera, he'd casually suggest that she wasn't giving enough, that her heart wasn't in the work. For an actress who had fought tooth and nail for respect in a male-dominated industry, those jabs were poison. They didn't challenge her, they undermined her. When filming ended, Sally walked away exhausted but wiser. She vowed never again to let a man mistake condescension for genius. And unlike some feuds that mellow with time, this one never healed. Woods went on to earn praise for his intensity. But in Sally's story, he will forever be remembered as the co-star who turned a romantic comedy into a psychological battleground. Number 6. Dustin Hoffman. The audition that humiliated Sally. Dustin Hoffman never even had to share a full film with Sally Field to leave a scar. All it took was one audition. What should have been a chance at a promising project in the early 1980s turned into one of the most humiliating moments of her career. The room was stacked against her from the moment she walked in. Hoffman was already holding court, cracking jokes with producers, controlling the tone before Sally even opened her mouth. When the reading began, he cut her off midline, corrected her delivery, and openly questioned her choices in front of everyone. Sally wasn't being tested for chemistry. She was being dismantled piece by piece. It felt like auditioning for a man who'd already decided you weren't enough, she later admitted. The words reveal more than frustration. They reveal how deeply she was wounded. This wasn't a clash of egos on equal ground. It was a power play with Hoffman, making sure she felt small. The sting deepened when she later heard he bragged about sabotaging the session, claiming there was no chemistry and boasting that he'd made sure of it. For Sally, the damage was profound. She questioned herself for weeks, wondering if she had failed. But time gave her clarity. The problem was never her performance. It was Hoffman's need to dominate, even at someone else's expense. She later called it one of the most humiliating experiences of her career, and she never forgave it. After all the awards, the applause, and the unforgettable roles, Sally Field's truth cuts deeper than any script. 7 names she will never forgive. They were legends to the world, but to her, they left scars that never fully healed. What do you think? Were these clashes the price of surviving Hollywood, or proof that fame often hides the ugliest battles? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Since you made it this far, you probably enjoyed the video. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more untold stories behind Hollywood's brightest stars.